I turned a pile of GameCube scraps into a playable Game Tub diorama. And not only that, but this thing is loaded with a bunch of different features. And it all started with this. And no, it's not AI slop like this crap. It's actually an animation made by the talented Kid Gorgeous that I've had my eyes on for a while now. Because from the moment I saw it was the moment I wanted it to be real. And some of you might be asking, hey, doesn't your friend Harry have a hot tub? So why not just take that hot tub and turn it into a GameCube? Well,
this bad boy's got plumbing issues.
So I thought of the next best thing. Turn some trash into something that could be treasured. And it's been a while since I've made an affordable project on this channel. And I want to make this project as close to the original as possible. So that means everything in this scene will be there, including all of these lights, LEDs inside the controller ports, and of course the atmospheric purple lights underneath. I'll also make sure that these GameCube buttons are functional and can control the lights and jacuzzi action. And of course, the GameCube's going to have to actually play games. And it all starts with modeling, which is basically hours and hours of this.
Oh, that's just not... No, I gotta take this and go rotate. -5 degrees. Just... Yeah, okay. That looks good.
And in the end, I finally had a CAD recreation of the art. And not only does it look the part, but I'll also show off how everything actually functions after I print everything out. And to print everything out, I'm once again relying on today's sponsor, Bambu Labs P2S and AMS2 Pro. Whether I'm making a cosplay helmet with a screen, a rideable Kirby scooter, or even simple things like a custom deck holder or a landmine clicker, I have always been able to rely on the P2S and AMS2 Pro. And they're reliable due to Bambu's 2nd gen tech, which allows for consistent temperatures, plus an upgraded extruder, and advanced print monitoring to tell me if something's wrong, like if I left a print on the bed before starting a new one, because sometimes I can be a bit of a forgetful Freddy. The AMS2 Pro is also really helpful for the multicolor prints that were needed for this project, and with a few taps on the screen with Bambu's updated UI, I can also dry the filament to make sure every print comes out as clean as possible. And for larger prints, the AMS2 Pro can also reload new filament even after you run out of a previous roll. So if you're looking for a machine that makes 3D printing a breeze, check out the P2S and AMS2 Pro in the description. Thanks to Bambu Labs for sponsoring once again. Now let's get to printing out those parts. Now, the print I was most worried about were the railings and the stair holders. But surprisingly, with the correct supports and orientation, it printed out no problem first try. And after spending a few hours coloring every single square in Bambu Studio, I was really happy with how the tiled walls looked too. The only issue I had were the stairs, because I bought some wood grain wrap to go around the prints, but they kind of look more like chewing gum wrappers. So after using Blender to get some wood textures embedded in the 3D files, I printed these new versions off, and I personally prefer this look. Maybe that's just me. Now that all the pieces are printed out, it's time to actually get a GameCube. And thankfully I was able to walk away with all the parts I needed from this Facebook Marketplace listing for only $20, which is great because GameCubes today cost as much as a barrel of oil. And this is basically all I needed. The interesting things to note is that this is a Japanese motherboard that I'll be hacking later, and there's going to be no disc reader because, well, that's where the hot tub goes. But first things first, I had to figure out a way to de-yellow this plastic. Most methods involve using some form of hydrogen peroxide and the sun. And according to this video, I might not actually even need to use the sun. Just some of this, and a sous vide heater I bought from a garage sale years ago. So after dumping a bunch of the cleaner in, and bathing all the yellow parts for a full day, I dried them off, waited an hour, and yeah, nothing happened. But thankfully, I had a plan B. I found Tessa Wolf's GameCube reproduction models, and with Bambu's light gray PLA and a little bit of sanding, these prints look shockingly identical to the original plastic. Like seriously, I need a microscope to tell the difference between the two. And to restore color to the rest of the shell, I matched the color to a paint called, Dignified, yes, and got to sanding, spraying, and painting. Next up is the tub, because 3D prints have pores that do not exactly hold liquid well. So I'm coating this with some epoxy resin and leaving it to cure overnight. Now we get to the electronics. And because the board is Japanese and I don't even have a disk drive, I'll need to boot into a custom operating system so I can load games from an SD card. Games that are, of course,
legally acquired and ripped from my Wii.
and to do all that, I'll need this single board Pi Pico. Fun fact about this little guy is it was actually given to me by YouTuber Jeff Geerling out of his Pi Pez dispenser a few open sauces ago. So thanks Jeff, I'm finally putting this to good use. And one soldering snap later, we are ready to test. Huh. Well, apparently if these cords are too long, that's a problem. Short wires. Let's see how it goes. Although I did not want to see Japanese. Maybe the heatsink was interfering with something? Oh, that's different. Oh! That's what I needed! Okay, something's just shorting right there, so I'll fix that and we're good to go. Now, to actually load the games from an SD card, all you need is this adapter that goes right into the bottom of the GameCube. And I also put in some custom code so that the Pi Pico could drive all these extra internal LEDs. And I even made sure that the LEDs would animate just like in the original art. And for the electronics outside the GameCube, I have the wall buttons connected to some keyboard switches that are really satisfying to press, and while the C-Stick isn't going to have any function, it does make for a nice little fidget toy. I also have a 4-volt water pump, and the rest of the LEDs connected to another Pi Pico, although I think something happened with the USB cord and it just kind of fried the circuitry, so I'll be using the Cduino in place, which is great because it uses USB-C, instead of the abomination that is USB micro. And now we're more or less at the assembly stage. For the floor, I used this wallpaper, or floor paper, and the 3D printed tiles for the actual walls came out amazing. And now, unfortunately, to fit the tub in, I was going to have to do a bit of cutting through the original GameCube shell. And even though it was a tight fit, and I had to sacrifice my second jacuzzi pump, I was able to make everything fit right into place. And finally, all I needed were the finishing details, like these fake plants off to the side, and these mini plexiglass fake windows. And after trying to cut this with this automated handsaw tool I bought, I realized I really need to stop buying these single-purpose tools and start sticking to more manual methods to get things done. And finally, for the hot tub water, I'm actually going to be using mineral oil because it is a lot more safe around electronics. In fact, you can submerge a whole PC in mineral oil if you really want to. And to color this, I'm going to be using some candle dye, but just make sure that you actually have the color correct before you pour it in. Because any color corrections you try to make in a 3D print will apparently cost you a couple extra days of painting and figuring out which combination of chemicals you need to reseal everything. Oh my god, this was a pain. But with one final pour, it's time to plug everything in and bask in this GameCube Hot Tub liminal space. And I do have to say, I'm really impressed with how close I made it to the original. And dang, does this thing look sick in the dark. But what about all of those features? The A button activates the jacuzzi, the Y button changes the mood lighting, and the B button toggles everything on and off. But of course, we need to test to make sure it can play games. So thankfully, when you need to plug into port 1, the railings attach and detach with magnets. But what games would actually be good to play with this thing?
These are the top 5 games that will vibe with your brand new GameCube Hot Tub. At number 5, we have Wind Waker. Not only are the oceanic exploration vibes immaculate, you can also accessorize your tub with Wind Waker figures to complete the feng shui, or however you pronounce that. Next, at number 4, we have Double Dash, specifically at Peach Beach. While the brightness might borderline blind you, the combination of racing, beaches, and a hot tub will remind you when you had enough money to take a vacation down to Daytona. But this time I recommend skipping on the accessories. Trust me. At number 3, we have Wave Race Blue Storm. Because if you're trying to complete the look of a divorced dad going through a crisis, it's hard to do better than a hot tub and jet ski combo. And at number 2, we have Super Mario Sunshine. An obvious pick not only for the resort town theme, but also there's nothing more skeezy than a hot tub tucked away to a hotel that's hiding a casino. And Mario can even join in on the hot tub fun. And of course, at number 1, we all knew this was coming, it's Pool Paradise! Because when you have people throwing down money in a bar with a pink pool table in an unnamed island and you add a hot tub to the mix, you can almost taste the counterfeit Cuban cigars in the air. And how much more immersion could you possibly need?
Special thank you to all of my patrons, especially Jameson Zabalos, Don Necco, X95 Times, Grandma Watson, Connor Rhodes, Pow Pow, Zebremang, Sally and Dave, Ulysses Mora, Marco Carini, Evan Timmerman, and Harley Jean.